I've run into people who are networking, but they're really working a room and they're looking for, like, I'm doing air quotes, the power people. And if you're
Right,
not
right.
in a position of power to them, then they don't want to talk to you. And the reality is, you might be either the person in that power position you're looking for, or they might be best friends with the person who is. And if you just blow them off, it's like, okay, yeah, I ran into you about an hour ago at that meet and greet, and you were kind of a jerk. You weren't willing to get to know people, and it's that 6 degrees of separation thing. And I mean, how have you seen networking really impact not just the growth of CPA, but the growth of, like, your Halfway There podcast and the Christian Podcaster podcast?
Yeah, I love that question because when I first started podcasting, I was not a networker. I thought that was, I just kind of looked at it skeptically because of what you were talking about, right? Like it was kind of self-serving and self-promotional, and I just didn't want to be that way. And I worked at a bank, and I hated banking. And to be honest, no offense to all the bankers out there, but I didn't find any of those people very interesting, right? Yuck, I don't want to do this. So that was not really my thing. But when I started podcasting, I needed guests, right? Because my show is all guest based, and I had to start doing a few things. I will never forget. I asked Richard Jacobson, who wrote a book called Unchurching, really interesting book, um, and he was the first person I ever reached out to. I saw him post in one of John Acuff's groups about how he finally published his book. He was celebrating, and I reached out to him and said, "Hey, would you come on my show?" First person I ever asked to come on my show that I didn't know.
Wow.
So I had to learn how to do that, and I was so scared, but he said yes. And you know that feeling when somebody that you respect is, or that you ask, says yes, and you're like, yes, oh, this is so great. And I had that, and then I started doing something else where I would ask people at the end of the interview, um, who. So now that you've experienced it, who do you know that would be really great for this show?
Oh, nice.
Such a good question to ask, and then I would get referrals, and so then it would just start to grow from there and mushroom in a way. And I really learned that that was powerful, that that was
Yeah.
like one of the most powerful things you can do. And then I read a book called Friend of a Friend by David Burkus
Ooh.
that kind of went over how to do that, and particularly how to do an introduction email, which I've used extensively. And we don't have to go into it, but just sending an email to introduce two people who you think would be helpful to one another
Yeah, yeah.
is so powerful. And then I get those from other people, and it kind of goes. And so I've seen networking become kind of one of my pieces of bread and butter, right? In what I do. And I never would have expected it 5 years ago, right? Which
Yeah.
I think is super cool.